Good afternoon, my friends. Welcome to this episode of Happiness After Codependency. I'm Marshall Berkshire, and I'm your guide back to knowing, loving, and living who you are so you can trust yourself and build a life of happiness for yourself after codependency, narcissistic abuse. Today, we're going to start a new series, and I call this Question, Marshall. So it's an opportunity where you can submit questions and I can answer them. There's a couple ways of doing that. You can post them in the chat, in the comments, rather, and you can actually submit questions beforehand. I can create an episode around that question, which is what I'm doing today. The link to do that is in the description above on Facebook, below on YouTube. It's the answers link. So you click answers and you can choose a way to communicate with me and submit your question that way, and then boom, we can have an episode about your answering your question, giving you personal insight into that situation. So I'm excited to have you here and to do this episode. Before we do that, I need to share this out to the community. The community is your safe haven here on the internet. Where'd that link go? Right there. Where you can find guidance, tools, and support in your journey out of codependency and back into self-trust, self-love, and caring for yourself. The link for that is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening via podcast, you can go to freetheself.com, click the community link in the menu to take you right to the group there. So I'm going to get that shared out right now. And if you want to listen via podcast, I am on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. It's just the Happiness After Codependency with Marshall Berkshire. And that's where you'll find me there. So let's get this posted there. Okay. So lately, because of the holiday promotion that started yesterday, I've gotten a question several times. Marshall, how do you approach healing codependency? So this episode's about giving you some insight into how I see codependency, how I approach healing it. So codependency is a strategy. It's a survival strategy that our brains developed in response to neglect and abuse. Basically, we all have three necessities when we come into life. We need safety, we need connection, and we need a sense of identity. Now, safety is about physical safety, emotional safety, and relationship safety. Sorry about that. Cough's always fun. And so those three safeties allow us to feel secure enough to develop who we are, to connect with our own sense of identity, purpose, interest, curiosity, our own talents, our own limitations, our boundaries, things like that. And this directly affects our sense of connection with others. Now, codependency, connection has been rife with danger, with anxiety, with panic, and with conditions. So love, attachment, proximity, or space have all felt threatening in some way to us. And then identity is coming to know who we are, to really like and love the person we find ourselves being, and to really live life in a way that's aligned for us personally. Now, codependency is a way of trying to get these three necessities met when the resource that we typically attach to, which is our parent, isn't available. They're not safe, they're not reliable, they're unhealthy, they're not mature themselves, that kind of thing. And so when the parent or the environment or both that we're growing up in isn't secure, we revert to a codependent approach in trying to please and appease them so that they will contribute to our safety, our sense of connection and identity. So codependency is an effort to feel safer, to feel connected, and to have a sense of self in some way that's valued by someone else. The alternative to codependency is self-respect or self-trust. It's I know myself, I can trust in my identity, I can follow it, I can lean on, I can rely on identity and who I am and what I'm discovering myself to be. I trust myself in my connections with others, and I trust them in their connections with me. It's reliable, it's safe, it's secure. And then safety is like, hey, I can make choices for me that work for me. People will respect my boundaries. When they don't, I know what to do with that so I can continue to protect myself. I know how to assess my physical safety and my emotional safety. My emotions are safe to feel, they're safe to share, they're safe to care for. This is what a healthy individual would be experiencing in their relationship with themselves and with the world. So those three necessities exist universally, and then how we get those three necessities is where codependency, or self-trust and self-respect come into play. So codependency is an effort to please someone so that these start getting met, and then self-respect and self-trust is an effort to create connections in our world that naturally nurture and care for these aspects of ourselves, for these needs, these three necessities in our lives. So when I look at codependency from this angle of, hey, it's trying to meet some needs for me, it's trying to help me feel safe, it's trying to help me have a sense of identity and connection with others, then it becomes very simple, not easy, because simple and easy, we often interchange. It's definitely, this is work. It's one of the most challenging pieces of work we'll ever do in our lives. But it becomes simpler to understand what we're using codependency to accomplish, and then we can start learning how to accomplish those things through self-trust and through self-respect. And that basically answers this question, how do I heal codependency? Well, my approach, it deals with self-trust and self-respect cultivated by helping ourselves first start to restore a sense of safety and regulation in our world. So the first step I take in leading a person out of codependency is to help them restore what's called their safety, their sanity, and their sovereignty. And do that through the Heal Yourself strategy. What we do here is we look at our safety. How physically safe am I? How emotionally safe am I? And how relationally safe am I? And then we start to improve safety in those three areas so that it becomes safer to explore and understand sanity. Because it's scary to assess reality even when we have a strong support network or we are well-resourced. Assessing reality can be a very scary thing, but when we're under-resourced, we don't have that support network, we don't have people that have got our back, we don't have practice in helping comfort and soothe our own distress, our emotions, our anxiety, our nervous system, things of that nature. Assessing sanity is going to be very difficult because the brain's going to want to go towards safety. It's going to want to go towards what it knows. And what it knows is what feels safest, when in reality, a lot of times for us, especially if we're exiting abusive dynamics, that isn't safe. Right? It's actually not safe to stay, but because it feels familiar and comfortable, yeah, I'll stay because, it's easier than going out into the scary unknown. Because at least I know the enemy. I know what's going to happen here. And that feels safer to us rather than what's actually safe is getting out of that and discovering healthy things. So that's why we start with safety first. We start building, raising our capacity for more safety, for feeling safer, for regulating distress, for caring for our wounds, our trauma, getting into the work of cultivating connection again, at least in a safe, secure group, on real life and online and with therapists at a minimum. That way we can start working through the unsafety we feel and that we experience and increasing that. And that allows us to become more available to assessing reality, start discovering what's really happening, and then that restores sanity. When we can start to believe in and trust in the legitimacy of our experiences, our feelings, our needs, our wants, and our boundaries, we start to feel radically safer in our world and more sane in our world because we start to understand what's going on. It's like, oh, so this behavior that's happening, or the cycle of behavior, this pattern of behavior tells me this and it tells me that, and I can make decisions based on that now rather than trying to endure it, survive it, and tolerate it, which is what codependency would do there. This helps us get in touch with our boundaries, get in touch with our own sovereignty, which is the next step. When I have an assessment of my safety, I'm starting to see what is real and trust that again, I am restoring sovereignty. Sovereignty is my personal right to govern my yard and my world. It is my wholeness, it's my value, and it's my personal authority and personal power over what I choose, what I do, and what happens in my yard. This brings us back to our body, back to ourself, so that we can start making better choices and taking better actions that add to more well-being and happiness in our life. So that is step one, restoring your safety, your sanity, and your sovereignty. And we do that through the Heal Yourself strategy. Then the next step in this is to come to really know ourselves, love ourselves, and to start living who we are. I do that through the Know Yourself strategy. And what this is basically built on is understanding what is called innate value. When I know my value, my true intrinsic worth, then I start to really understand myself, and I call that the voice. So when I'm attuned to my own value and worth, I start to think differently. I start to see things differently, and I start to make different choices, take different actions, which create different results in my world. Because I'm starting to know what I want, what I don't want, what I need and what I don't, how those needs work, how do they get fulfilled, what behaviors, what actions, what activities, what words, what items, what kind of relationships and people, places, and things that contribute to it. That's the how. Understanding how your need gets fulfilled, how your want gets fulfilled is critical to you finding compatible, loving relationships in your life. So I teach you how to do that. I teach you how to understand your how and understand how your body is trying to communicate this wisdom to you, because that's part of knowing ourselves. It's not an analytical experience because we're not trying to figure out who we are. We're actually starting to discover ourselves and discover how we grow into ourselves. It's like, ooh, well, I'm this version of myself now. Who would I like to be in the future? Or, hey, my insecurity says be this, but who would I be if I was coming from my confidence? This way we start to really gain the power to choose who we are and make the choices we want, or make choices and take actions that lead to what we want more in our life. That's what it means to know, love, and live who we are, is because we understand our value, our voice that value gives life to, and the vision that voice paints. In other words, we know, love, and live who we are because we're following our own value, our own voice, and our vision. And then the third and final step in healing from codependency is learning how to create relationships. And this is all relationships, not just romantic ones, but friendships, business relationships, all that work for you and for them. It builds capacity in your ability to connect with people, to tolerate proximity, to tolerate space in relationships, to come to actually know who a person is based on their patterns of behavior, know if this relationship works for you based on the pattern of impact and results it brings to your life. And this all relates to what we learn in the Know Yourself strategy and the Heal Yourself strategy, because we got to be sane. And we got to know what sanity is. We got to know what's real if we're going to know if this person's compatible with us. How we're going to know if it's compatible if we don't know ourselves. So it all builds towards this goal of helping you discover healthy, loving friendships, relationships, and opportunities in your world. And I teach that in the relationship strategy using a method I call the what, how, who method of relating. Basically, what do you want? How does it work? Who fits with that? And then see what the result is. Because it's the result that will tell you whether or not you have long-term compatibility, whether or not it's going to work for you and for them. So I teach you that in the relationship strategy. So you learn what communication is, how to navigate conflict, how to regulate attachment, and how to build true intimacy and trust, and how this is detected in people through their patterns of behavior and the results and impacts you experience in relating with them. This is how I heal codependency. And the underpinning foundation on this is self-trust. So in 2022, we're going to be doing a whole lot of work on self-trust. But all of this builds on this foundation that I am innately legitimate. That's what self-trust, one of its core principles is. I am innately legitimate. That means my emotions are legitimate. My needs, my feelings, my perceptions, my personality, my person, my existence is all innately legitimate. I don't have to justify my existence. I don't have to justify my boundaries, what I want, how I want it, what I need, and how I need it, and so forth. So it's all built on that. This is how I approach codependency and help people reliably and consistently realize more joy, well-being, and happiness in their life. So that's the question. That's my answer to that question, how I approach it there. So let's see. Rosalind said, 100% without safety in relationship, there is no way to get out of the codependent cycle. Yeah, without safety, you will revert to codependency because you're negotiating with what it feels like a threat or is actually a threat in your reality. And I got to restore that. And a lot of times restoring safety is leaving toxic relationships because they're not changing and growing in a way that works for us. And then coming into building a safe, secure network, people that have got your back, therapists, support groups online and in real life, and then trusted and proven friendships that have your back. And then we build from there. So we get that foundation in place. So yes, this is our job in relationships isn't to regulate the other person's emotions. Our job in relationships is to be attuned to them and them to be attuned to us. And then we have very transparent, clear, kind communication about what's going on for us. We have full responsibility for what's happening in us. And then we can ask for what we need. They can ask to contribute to what we need, things like that. That's how, at least in my experience of healthy relationships, that's how it's consistently worked. And it's built really strong, abiding trust, intimacy, companionship, support, and play in my world. That's what I'm here to help you guys accomplish in your world. So there's the answer to that question. You got a question you want to know more about on codependency, or you would like some specific guidance with, click on the answers link in the description above on Facebook, below on YouTube, or you can go to the website and submit it under the consult tab and let me know, and I'll do an episode on that question just for you. So, and you can do it anonymously, so you don't have to expose yourself or anything like that. Otherwise, guys, I invite you to take advantage of the holiday sale that's going on right now. The link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. And if you're on podcast, just go to my website, click Holiday Deals. So it'll be right there in the header, on the first page, where you can get enrolled in the Heal Yourself strategy and start restoring your safety, sanity, and sovereignty. You can get into the Know Yourself strategy and the relationship strategy, or get the whole system and start moving through your codependency back to your sovereignty, to your well-being and your happiness, and save yourself some dollar bills there. So the link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. It's a highly limited enrollment. There's only 50 seats available across everything, and those are split up between each of those courses. Right now we've got about 48, I'm bad with math, 42 seats open. This closes November 30th, so you got about 14 days, so I'll recommend jumping on that. Then enrollment's closed until January of 2022, so this is your last chance of 2021 to get enrolled. Again, that link's above on Facebook, below on YouTube, and on my website, freetheself.com. Thank you guys for showing up. I will see you in our next episode. Have a great day. Keep yourself safe, and I will see you guys later.